of showed us that he can overcome an obstacle. So I have one to tell you, pretty fast one about me. Being in a wheelchair, you encounter all sorts of things that you would never really think would be a challenge. So this happened 2 months, after getting out of the hospital. And it was my first date that I'd gone on. I was so nervous, because it's a whole new thing to be in a date in a wheelchair. So we come out of the restaurant, everything's gone okay so far, and lo and behold, the curb. And the kid I'm with, he's like, do you need help going down that curb? It's like, excuse you? No, I've got it under control. So I go to the curb. You're supposed to get a wheelie, so I get my wheelie, coming up to the curb, and I'm thinking, all right, this is good. I don't need help. And no, one of my wheels went down before the other one. Okay, I wheelied over. I'm laying now on the ground on this curb thinking, great, that was the dumbest experience I've ever had in my life. The kid is standing there just looking at me going, not sure whether to cry, laugh. Girl tips over in a wheelchair, what do you do? So, he's like, should I pick me up? That'd be good. Yep, I need to pick up. So he's like, okay, how should I do this? I'm like, well, looking at you, you look pretty strong. I'm thinking you can probably just pick me up like this, right? Right? So he's like, oh, all right. Picks me up, and now I'm sitting here looking at him going, good idea. What about my wheelchair? Of course, I'm blaming it on him, his idea. And so picture this, standing in a parking lot. Guy holding girl, his foot kicking at the chair, trying to get this chair to stand up. This is what is going on. This is my first date. I'm just thinking it couldn't get any worse. Well, okay, he finally gets it up. My brakes weren't on. Wheelchair. Starting to wheel away. So luckily it didn't go very fast, and it only took a couple hops with me him carrying me for him to catch it. He sets me down in my chair, and I'm the type of person that if I have the opportunity to mess with someone, I do. So right at that time, this couple walks out of Sizzler. I turn and look at him, look at the couple, and I said, can you believe this kid? He just dumped me out of my wheelchair. Okay. His face was he was scared. He was scared. I shouldn't have done that, but hey, can't help it. So this experience taught me something pretty fast right then, that when you get knocked down, you've got to get back up. I got knocked down right there, and trust me, I wanted to crawl into a hole, but I knew that I could get back up. So with his help, I was able to do that. Each of you guys are going to face a time in your life when you get knocked down. You have that choice to get back up. How many of you in here are football players? Not very many. Unless I can't see you. How many of you are football fans, though? BYU fans, Utah fans? Okay, football fans. So being at Snow College, I've learned that football is kind of a big deal here. So I'm going to tell you a story about a football player that I learned about. This football player lived here in Utah, and in high school, he was an All-American quarterback. So I don't know much about football, but I think that's pretty good. He then went on to college and played at the University of Utah, started every single game his freshman year as a defensive end. He was also a defensive lineman on the first team All-Mountain West Conference. So, okay, I don't know anything about football stats, but when I said that to somebody, they told me it was a big deal. So I'm assuming that it is. So this guy, pretty amazing. He was thought of to be a star player in the NFL one day. Well, near the end of his freshman year, he was out one night with all of his friends, and it didn't really turn out like he planned. This car drove by them, and what turned out as a snowball just being thrown at that car from one of those football athletes turned into a brawl between those boys in the car and these football players. During this fight, this one-star football player got stabbed numerous times. Of course he didn't plan on that going into that night. Who would think that at the beginning of your weekend fun, it's going to end with you fighting for your life? Well, that's what he faced. He faced that challenge of fighting for his life when he didn't expect it. So after 4 hours of surgery and nearly 50 staples, he closed up all of his stab wounds. I don't know if any of you guys have figured out who this player is, but his name's Paul Kruger. So Paul Kruger had to make a decision right then. He could either give up on his football dream, which would be okay. Football's a pretty tough sport, so that'd be all right. I don't think anyone would shake their head at him. Anyone would doubt that. Or he could get up and keep trying. Well, Paul made the decision to keep trying. After months of recovering, he not only came back to play football, but entered the NFL draft in 2008. He now plays for the Baltimore Ravens. This guy not only overcame that challenge and came back to play football, but has become an amazing football player. He's gone with the elite. He is now up there with, I don't know, you want to say the big time. He's playing in the NFL. But if he'd given up right then, he wouldn't have any of those things come true. So you guys may not face challenges like Tuff Hedeman. You may not get stabbed like Paul Kruger. But you're still going to face challenges. There's still going to be obstacles in your life that make you feel like you should give up, that you should stop right then, give away your dreams. But you have to choose to get back up. There's a quote by this Olympic runner, Juma Ikonge. I slaughter that every time. But anyway, so it says, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up. I've learned to take this into my life. You guys can take it into yours. Guarantee in your life you're going to get knocked down. Without a doubt, there will be more failures in your life than there are successes. But you can choose to stay down or get back up. So I have another question for you guys. How many of you have ever felt like everything was going right? That, I don't know, if you're a guy, you scored the girl, you're doing good in school, you're a star athlete, anything you want. But everything is going how you want it to go. I know this feeling. I love this feeling. So let me tell you a little bit about when I went through this. So you guys can see this picture. This is about that time in my life. There was nothing going wrong. I told you guys how rodeo was a big deal. Well, the year of 2009, I was rodeoing every weekend, even more if I could. I went to my state finals, went back to nationals, something that nobody thought I could do. Not only that, after spending my week at nationals, I went back to another finals rodeo in Colorado, won 2 world titles. Okay, to me this was huge. This is something that I'd been working for since I was 7 years old, was to be able to accomplish these things. So, moving past just even rodeo, I got elected to be the state officer, the state president for the FFA. This was something that I had dreamed of doing throughout all of high school. I ran against 22 other kids to become the state president and to be a part of this team. At that point in my life, I didn't know what I wanted to be yet, but through that year, I traveled to schools, teaching, figured out how much I love to teach. Then, just to top it off, I applied for colleges and got accepted to every college I applied for, and then was offered scholarships.